Hi everyone, my name is Coco. Today, in the fourth episode, I'll tell you about Sima Chien and Art of War, plus how he sees human nature. First, who is Sima Chien? He's the greatest Chinese historian and a Taoist thinker. He was castrated because he defended General Li Ling, who surrendered to Xiongnu and joined them after fierce battles. Xiongnu was the most ferocious foreign tribe to the Chinese at that time. General Li Ling's defeat is similar to the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, in which Roman General Publius Quintilius Varus lost 3 Roman legions to German tribes. Please see Barbarians on Netflix to get an idea. Sima Qian wrote Records of History in 130 volumes that covers the first 2,000 years of Chinese history. Records of History sets the standard for Chinese historiography to this day. For this episode, we focus on the biographies of moneymakers. Number 1. The idea of being a contrarian. First, Sun Tzu says, attack the enemy in a direction it doesn't head for, and head for the direction not expected by the enemy. And Sima Qian gives us an example of contrarian thinking. The ancestors of the Ren family are public granary supervisors. When the Qin dynasty collapses, various warlords seize the gold and gemstones from the royal palace. But the Ren family moved the grain in the granary into their own warehouses. When the armies of Chu state and Han dynasty are in a standoff in the Xinyang region after the fall of the Qin dynasty, nobody could farm, and 1 dan of rice, which is about 31 kilograms, costs 10,000 units of currency. So, the gold and gemstones formerly held by the warlords all go to the Ren family, and that's how they get rich. Second, focusing on core competency and be a hidden champion. Sun Tzu says, when our forces are concentrated as one, while the enemy's forces are divided on 10 fronts, we will be fighting the enemy with 10 times the power. And the examples from Sima Qian in business are as follows. Selling water is an overlooked industry, but the Chang family has assets in the tens of millions of currency units. Sharpening knives while sprinkling water on the whetstone is an easy skill, but the Zhi family enjoy their meals with the cauldrons of aristocrats. Making appetizers with animal stomach is a simple skill, but the Zhuo family owns teams of horses. Healing horses requires only simple prescriptions, but Zhang Li eats his meals to the music of bells. Or the other interpretation is that Zhang Li has so many employees that he needs to schedule their lunch by the bell. Those people all get rich by dedication to their craft and focus. Then, we'll talk about Sima Qian's view on human nature. He said that since Xia Dynasty, as described in the Book of Poems and the Book of Documents, people's eyes and ears want the best entertainment, and their mouths desire the taste of all kinds of animals. Their bodies seek comfort and leisure, and their minds want to boast their power, abilities, and glories. This custom has affected the people for a long time. Even if someone with a fantastic theory goes from door to door to persuade the people to change their habits, there is no way people would change. Therefore, the best ruler follows human nature to rule. The ruler one class below guides the people's behavior with profits. Further below, with moral persuasion. Further below, with regulations. And the worst ruler fights human nature. Sima Qian also says, and I'll only read the second paragraph here. Young gangsters in the alleys attack and rob victims, bury dead bodies, steal from people, and commit crimes. They dig graves to steal burial objects, mint counterfeit coins, fight turf wars for their gang, and execute vendettas as the gangsters' commitments. They flee and hide everywhere. They have no regard for the injunctions of the laws and head for the most dangerous places. They do so for only one reason: wealth. He also says, I'll read only the first paragraph. Nowadays, women from the regions of Zhao and Zheng adorn themselves, carry musical instruments, wave long ribbon-like sleeves of their dance attire, wear dance shoes, tease with their eyes, and flirt with their minds. They do not mind the thousands of miles of travel, nor how much older or younger the men they sleep with. They do so simply because they are running after money. Let's take a look at Hanfei and Adam Smith for comparison. First, who is Hanfei? He is a legalist philosopher. He's the Chinese equivalent of Machiavelli or Thomas Hobbes. Legalists focus on making the country rich and the armed forces strong. They are not quite concerned with jurisprudence as we know it. Hanfei says, the medical doctor is good at sucking the blood out of wounds and holding the patient's blood in his mouth. He does so not because the patient is his family member, but because he can make a profit. Likewise, the coachmaker makes a coach and wants people to be wealthy, and the coffin maker makes a coffin and wants people to die early. It's not because the coachmaker is kind and the coffin maker evil. If people are not wealthy, the coaches won't sell. If people don't die, nobody buys coffins. The nature of a coffin maker is not hating people. Rather, his interest lies in the death of people. Hanfei also says, the farm owner hires workers to till the land. The farm owner prepares delicious food out of his own expense and moves money to pay wages, not because he loves the workers. The reason is that if he does so, the workers will till the land deeper and remove the grass more thoroughly. The workers work hard to till the land and show their best effort in the field, not because they like the farm owner. The reason is that if they do so, the food will be delicious and the wages gratifying. This statement is very similar to what Adam Smith said about self-love. It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. We address ourselves not to their humanity, but to their self-love. So my feeling is that Adam Smith is really a Taoist. His invisible hand corresponds very neatly to Wu Wei, or imperceptible action in Taoism. Adam Smith says, every individual neither intends to promote the public interest nor knows how much he's promoting it. He is in this, as in many other cases, led by an invisible hand to promote an end which was no part of his intention. And Sima Chien says something very similar. Goods require farmers to grow them, natural resource workers to mine and harvest them, craftsmen to manufacture them, and businessmen to move them. How could such production be accomplished by the government's orders, plans, and policies? People use their abilities and invest their talent to get what they want. Therefore, the low price of an asset is a sign that it's becoming more expensive, and the high price cheaper. Everybody works in his industry and enjoys his trade in the same way the water has for the low ground, night after day, without interruption. Without anyone asking, the goods appear. Without compulsion, people create output. Isn't this phenomenon a sign of the Tao, an embodiment of nature? My conclusion is that the Tao simulates nature, just like Lao Tzu says, and Adam Smith is a Taoist. So, my take on human nature is this. Human nature is selfishness. It is an outcome after billions of years of evolution. It is the most fundamental of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That is, the physiological needs. Many animals store as assets, and even some plants do. This quality of selfishness has no compassion and is apathetic. Just like the following equations, for example, Newton's force, the ideal gas equation, and Ohm's law. I believe that a person's education, social status, faith, or political doctrine has no effect on his or her selfish nature. Well, maybe 1 in a million can override such impulse, but that's 1 in a million. So, my conclusion is this. If Taoism were the philosophy of the hippies, they would be reading Adam Smith all the time. Now, both Sun Tzu and Sima Qian tell us to be a contrarian, think outside the box, and focus on the core competency of our business. In this episode, the Taoist or legalist view of human nature must be mentioned because the next episode is about how the state of Chien unified China with Taoism and legalism. Last but not least, let's hope you can all watch my TV show one of these days. Thank you and see you next time.